In our ongoing pursuit to discover whether there are only a few bad apples in police departments all across this nation and really around the world, or if this is a systemic problem, we're going to take a look at cops taking pictures of feet in Oak Ridge, cops taking pictures of naked women in Winnipeg, Canada, and a group of police officers faking investigations in order to stalk and harass social media influencers. First, something creepy is afoot in Oak Ridge.
An investigation is open in the city of Oak Ridge into the actions of officers during a traffic stop. One officer accused of pulling a woman over and snapping pictures of her feet without her permission.
10 News reporter Andrew McClung joins us to walk us through that body cam footage. Andrew.
Yeah, it's hard. And they're doing it while they wear body cams and while they know dash cams are running. They can't even help themselves. This is the height of psychopathy.
DT Christmas says he was contacted for help in a case he thought was just about speeding, involving a husband and wife driving in separate cars last year in Oak Ridge. When he dug further, he found out something else was going on during his client's traffic stop.
She called us one day, said, hey, me and my fiance got a speeding ticket in Oak Ridge. So we show up. He had a CDL, so they wasn't wanting to dismiss it. So that means we have to have a hearing. So we request the video footage, the dash cam footage.
Attorney DT Christmas said he started going through dash cam footage from his client's November traffic stop in January, when he says he discovered that an officer had taken pictures of his client's feet during the roadside stop.
And I was kind of taken back and shocked, and I sent a little clip of the video to the client, and she was kind of mortified, you know, and her first response was, how many people have they done this to?
Exactly. And that's the first thing I think about. When a cop gets caught doing something on camera, you can't help, a normal person cannot help but think, okay, this is probably not an isolated incident. And this is probably not the only cop involved in this. And even the cops who aren't committing these perversions and these other crimes, even if they're not committing them, they know that other cops are committing them and they choose to remain silent. So you can expect some fancy footwork out of this department in covering up for these officers' actions.
Off the dash camera lets you hear officers talk about taking photos of people's feet.
Yeah, he did not like that. That's our sergeant saying that. He hates feet. So we always try to take pictures of just gross situations for him. There's some messed up feet out here.
Oak Ridge Police.
So our sergeant hates feet, and so we can keep the humor base going in the Thin Blue Line gang of thugs. Let's go ahead and treat the victims of our corporate traffic crimes as the brunt of our jokes as we seek to make it home safe at the end of our shifts, because that's priority number one.
Issued a statement that says in part, it does not condone this type of behavior. Christmas says what concerns him.
We don't condone it, but we're not going to do a damn thing about it.
He made city officials aware of what happened months before it showed up on social media.
It was the table attorney that was dealing with the case, and we informed them, and they knew it before we did because they sent us the videos from around February to up in the summer. People from Oak Ridge Police Department would make comments to me in court about this foot case. They would make puns about it. They were talking about, I guess we're taking foot patrol a little too serious.
A city spokeswoman says Chief Robin Smith was made aware of the situation this week, and that an internal investigation is being conducted that will determine when this was first discovered.
We're not filing a lawsuit. We just gave the people the information. This is what these officers have done. You decide if you're okay with that.
Now, Christmas says since video of this incident has circulated on social media, several people have contacted his office reporting similar issues. The lawyer says the tickets against both the husband and wife have been dismissed.
Oh, that traffic violation wasn't so important after all. And guess who's going to foot the bill for this indiscretion? No pun intended. Now a group of cops from Winnipeg, Canada, who passed their time and abused their authority by taking pictures of naked, deceased women.
We understand the damage this does to public trust. Trust which must be earned every day. And that is what we intend to do.
Winnipeg Police Chief Gene Bowers says the charges stem from events dating back to 2016.
These allegations are clearly...
It's a long list, including indignity to human remains and knowingly distributing an intimate image, alleging Bostic shared a photo of a partially clothed dead woman.
Now, stay tuned to the end of this, because as we've seen so many times, this Bostic cop, who's been with the department for like over 2 decades, had recently gotten an award from the department while this investigation was being conducted. How many times have we seen cops get the Deputy of the Month award or the Officer of the Year award, only to find out later that they were involved in some of the most heinous crimes you've ever seen brought out into the light?
No organization is immune to individual misconduct. It is our responsibility to confront it and act decisively, which we have done.
That's true. No organization is immune to individual misconduct, but no organization that I know of as a business model or in practice knowingly hires compliant order followers as part of their hiring program, where they take an oath to enforce all laws, all policies of the company, including the cruel, immoral, and unconstitutional ones. And that's why the argument can easily be made there can be no good cops. Because if there are bad laws that they are willingly enforcing on the general public, on innocent people, good people don't do bad things to innocent people. Therefore, if you're getting a paycheck for doing bad things to innocent people, you can't be a good cop. And if you are a good cop exposing all this evil, you're not going to be a cop for very much longer. But I digress. Or do I?
Other charges include break and enter, theft under $5,000, 6 counts of breach of trust, 3 counts of obstruction of justice, along with 84 incidents of drug trafficking, resulting.
What the hell? You're supposed to be protecting and serving the community. You're supposed to be protecting them from criminals and from the bad, scary drugs, but you have 84 incidents of drug trafficking? Isn't that worse than just a regular street criminal?
In 5 drug-related charges.
These are very serious allegations which...
Wait a minute. How are there 84 incidents of drug trafficking, but only 5 drug-related charges? Something ain't right here.
These are very serious allegations which go directly against the values of the Winnipeg Police Service, tarnishing our reputation and eroding the public's confidence within our service.
3 other officers face related charges, 2 charged in November, 1 charged Wednesday. All 4 officers are on administrative leave. None of the allegations have been proven in court. Now, as for that Governor General's Medal for exemplary service, Rideau Hall says it's awarded to officers who served 20 years characterized by good service. Constable Bostic received it while he was being investigated by his own police force.
While the police force is investigating him for criminal activity, he receives an award from the department who's investigating him. That's like giving Jeffrey Dahmer an award for properly storing meat in a chest freezer. But wait, we're not done yet, because now we go to Riverside County, California, where officers engaged in setting up fake investigations to stalk and harass social media influencers.
A fitness influencer with thousands of followers on platforms like Instagram and TikTok is revealing chilling details about a man who she says stalked her for months. That man, she claims, was a Riverside County Sheriff's deputy. And a new lawsuit filed in federal court accuses him of abusing his position and accuses the county of letting him get away with it for far too long.
Imagine my shock. A cop who's abusing his authority and a department who covers up that abuse and gives awards to abusers.
Digging into the wildest details from this complaint, 29-year-old mom of 2, Brianna Ortega, has filed a lawsuit against Riverside County, California, and several of its current and former law enforcement members.
What is she doing? Sucking on a vacuum cleaner? What the hell is going on with this world?
accusing them of violating her civil rights. According to Ortega, she met one of the county's deputies at a family festival in the Coachella area when he gave her young son some stickers, right? But what should have been a passing interaction, that soon turned into scary stalking behavior, according to this new complaint. This is
classic manipulation from a law enforcement officer. Here, little kid, take some stickers so I can cozy up to your mama.
Behavior that would eventually lead to a deputy losing his job and being convicted of multiple crimes. Breonna Ortega is the sole plaintiff, the only person suing. The defendants are the County of Riverside, Eric Piscatella, the deputy at the center of this ongoing stalking scandal, the sheriff, and current Republican candidate for governor Chad Bianco, a second deputy named Martinez Moreno, and as yet unidentified defendants named Doe 1 and 2. So, Piscatella, according to the San Bernardino Sun, worked for the Riverside County Sheriff's Department for 5 years, from March 2019 to October 2024. He was reportedly assigned to court services and patrol in Thermal. This is an unincorporated area that's part of Southern California's Coachella Valley. Okay, so now you have the background, you get the context. Now we're going to get into the criminal case against Piscatella as well, but as we go through the filing, it is important to know that the now former deputy did plead guilty to multiple counts of misusing his department computer access, okay? So the complaint's introduction gives us an idea of the allegations. Quote, this civil rights action arises out of the predatory conduct of Eric Piscatella, a county Riverside sheriff's deputy, who, while in the course and scope of his employment, repeatedly used law enforcement resources and databases to illegally access the personal information of the plaintiff to stalk her and pursue a romantic relationship with her. And
do you know how common that is? These cops have license plate readers. They've got laptops. They've got all this technology where they can find out who you are and where you live. And they can stalk you and they can stake you out and they can pull you over. And you can't do anything. When they pull you over, if you try to run, they'll deploy all the resources of the state and they'll bring you to bear. There's nothing you can do. This is ultimate abuse of authority. They know they have this authority. They know that they have this power over you, no matter who you are. And they know there's nothing you can do to resist. And if you try to resist, it won't go well for you. The cops become psychopaths, or do psychopaths become cops?
Ortega claims that it all started almost exactly 2 years before she filed this lawsuit. Quote, on or about September 17, 2023, while in the course and scope of his employment, very important language there, defendant Piscatella made contact with the plaintiff and her minor children while plaintiff was attending a festival in the city of Coachella. Through offering stickers to the plaintiff's minor children, defendant Piscatella created an opportunity to introduce himself to plaintiff and obtained her name, which he later used illegally to access her personal and private information. According to Ortega, the two did not exchange contact information, but her name was all Piscatella needed to find out more about her. Months after their brief initial contact, Ortega told the LA Times that she'd forgotten all about this guy when he suddenly appeared in her life once again. The lawsuit reads, on or about January 25th, 2024, defendant Piscatella searched for plaintiff Ortega using his RCSD patrol vehicle's computer. Okay, Adante, let's stop right there. This is an apparent major violation, right? All sorts of their Piscatella accessed the data as the actions of one bad apple. Quote, based on information according to
charges, which he ultimately pled to.
The key word there, by the way, is he did, right? Because according to Ortega, it wasn't just the actions of one bad apple. Quote, based on information and belief, defendant Deputy Martinez Moreno and Does 1 to 2 were present when defendant Piscatella accessed the database and neither stopped or reported defendant Piscatella's illegal conduct.
So once again, not one good apple in the bunch. If there was a good apple who was principled, who had a moral compass, he would have called this guy out, he would have turned him in, and they would have got rid of this guy. But that's not how police departments operate. They back the blue. They watch out for their thin blue line, fraternal order of police brotherhood 100% of the time. They will let them engage in criminal activity because they are engaged in criminal activity of their own, and they want the backing when something goes south while they're abusing authority. This is a whole psychological merry-go-round in police culture. All these cops will 100% cover for themselves while they treat you and the rest of us like dogs.
Through this illegal search, Piscatella was able to obtain the home address of the plaintiff and other personal and private information, including her cell phone number. Following ascertaining the plaintiff's address, Piscatella showed up at the plaintiff's residence in the city of La Quinta in his patrol vehicle without legal cause. Armed and in full uniform, defendant Piscatella questioned the mother of the plaintiff regarding the location of her daughter. Based on information and belief, defendant Deputy Martinez Moreno and Does 1 to 2 were present in the patrol car for this interaction and neither stopped or reported defendant Piscatella's illegal activity. The lawsuit says Ortega's mother was, quote, alarmed and concerned, but refused to tell Piscatella where her daughter worked. Okay.
Now, they're objecting. Law and Crime is objecting to this because it's outside the legal framework. Hey, this isn't legal, so it must be immoral. And yes, it is immoral and illegal. But what about those legal things that are also immoral, where somebody uses an onboard company, sheriff's, police vehicle to pull you over because you didn't pay the extortion fee? People think that that's okay because that's generally accepted as legal, even though that is just as much of an immorality as this is. And we need to open our eyes to it.
So Ortega says that she ended up responding, wanting to know where they'd met. And he said at a festival in Coachella. So the lawsuit says plaintiff Ortega did not recall giving defendant Piscatella her number, nor did she understand the nature of the text communication. Therefore, she did not continue the conversation. However, after her sister was a victim of a crime in February of 2024, the plaintiff reached out to defendant Piscatella seeking law enforcement assistance. Despite only asking for law enforcement assistance, defendant Piscatella shifted the conversation to pursue his romantic interest in the plaintiff and asked to take her out on a date. Plaintiff immediately ended the conversation and ultimately changed her phone number for unrelated reasons. And that is when Ortega says things really started to ramp up in the spring of 2024. Quote, in the subsequent months, Deputy Piscatella's romantic interest in the plaintiff escalated to an obsession, leading him to routinely illegally search the plaintiff's private information on law enforcement databases, including on May 31st, 2024, when it was determined defendant Piscatella ran the license plate number of the plaintiff while his patrol unit was determined to be in close proximity of plaintiff's residence. And again, she claims that other deputies were present, didn't stop Piscatella from using the information systems this way.
And take a look at this guy. The general population would take a look at him and go, you know what? What a clean-cut young man. He must be a good person. It's a good thing he's in law enforcement so he can patrol our streets and keep our community safe. I trust him. This is why we say you never, ever let your guard down around any cop. I don't care if he's going psycho on you at a traffic stop or he's being as nice as he could possibly be when he sees you in a restaurant. You cannot trust them. We've seen how two-faced they can be through videos presented to us by content creators like Kansas City Accountability and KULT News. They'll be nice and cordial and professional as they can possibly be to your face, but once they go inside that bank or that establishment, they're talking smack behind your back, and they're doing it on camera. They can't even stop.
Deputies were present, didn't stop Piscatella from using the information systems this way. And if you can believe it, things, apparently, according to her, got even creepier. Quote, on July 2nd, 2024, defendant Piscatella conducted another search of plaintiff, searching her license plate on the California law enforcement telecommunications system. Following this search, defendant Piscatella once again went to the residence of the plaintiff while armed and in full uniform, entered the residence of the plaintiff without consent or legal cause, falsely claiming a black man with dreadlocks had jumped over her backyard fence, attempting to break into her residence. This July 2nd, 2024 encounter happened just 3 minutes after plaintiff returned home from out of town, which caused the plaintiff to believe she was under the surveillance of defendant Piscatella. Once inside the residence under false pretenses, defendant Piscatella immediately began to make romantic overtures towards the plaintiff, telling her how beautiful she was without makeup and asked for her new cell phone number because she had changed her previous number. Plaintiff was confused, scared, and uncomfortable and began recording part of this interaction with her phone. Plaintiff ultimately provided her new phone number while under duress and only for the purpose of investigating the possible crime that had been committed at her home. Unfortunately, defendant Piscatella once again started texting the plaintiff to further pursue his romantic interest, including stating he would steal plaintiff from her boyfriend. Plaintiff immediately asked defendant Piscatella to stop messaging her, as it was unrelated to any crime, and defendant Piscatella's illegal conduct was reported to law enforcement. So, what is Ortega suing for? Well, the complaint lists 6 causes of action: civil rights violations under specific federal statutes, municipal liability for civil rights violation, violation of civil rights for failure to train and supervise, violation of Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, violation of Electronic Communications Privacy Act, violation of civil rights under the Fourth Amendment. The deputies under Sheriff Chad Bianco, they knew they could get away with conduct like this. That's what's making this lawsuit so more expansive, including these different players. It says, quote, on information and belief, defendants Piscatella acted as he did in part because he knew or was otherwise aware there was no enforced county RCSD policy in place to monitor and or review his computer use and activity. As a result of established customs, norms, and procedures at RCSD, defendants Piscatella, Martinez Moreno, and Does 1 and 2 believed that they would not be disciplined or punished for their conduct, and their conduct would otherwise be ratified or condoned by their superiors, as similar conduct had routinely gone unpunished and with offenders suffering no adverse or disciplinary consequences.
So not only do they have qualified immunity, they have baked into the cake of this department, zero backstop capability and zero desire to monitor the actions and hold officers accountable for anything. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you give psychopaths power, they will abuse it.
Defendant county was or should have been aware of RCSD deputies using the work computer system and other law enforcement databases to prey on vulnerable female citizens. However, despite this, the deplorable conditions still exist and led to the injuries suffered by the plaintiff.
So, as a small sample of just how corrupt these cops are in all departments, in all states, in all countries, you got cops in Oak Ridge taking pictures of feet. You got cops in Winnipeg, Canada, taking pictures of dead female corpses. And you got cops in California stalking social media influencers, using the resources of the state to do it. A few bad apples? I don't think so. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you want this channel to grow, if you want to support this channel, you can do it for free. Just stop what you're doing right now. Hit that like button, hit the bell notification icon, share this video with everybody you know, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next video.